Yo, what's good, YouTube? In today's video, we're going over my top 5 meta SMG loadouts you guys need to be running. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe, those notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, for our first gun here today, we're gonna be starting you guys off, with what looks like an assault rifle, and it's actually not indeed an assault rifle. Well, I mean, technically it's the BP-50, but what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be throwing on the conversion kit, the Jack Revenger kit, which is gonna make this thing basically into the Ripper SMG, truly an absolute banger that you guys need to be using. It's really fun, great TTK, the movement's insane. You for real are gonna love this one. So of course we happen to throw this on for our first attachment, and this blocks off quite a few things in here, but we got the best things for you guys to run. So in the muzzle, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in here and refine a compensator, not a suppressor, a compensator, and that is going to be that Zeman 35 compensated flash hider, which is going to help us shorten our overall radar ping, keep us off the minimap a little bit, helps our vertical recoil or horizontal and our firing aiming stability. Pretty much all you really need here on this gun as a total like stabilization attachment. Just you don't really need to like have anything else on here that's going to slow you down. This is about as much as you realistically need. So we're going to throw this on here, and this is going to be a great first attachment. After that, we're gonna go up into the laser section, and we're actually gonna use the very first laser on here, that Kimura RYL33 laser light. Pretty ridiculous name for a laser, but you guys know what I'm talking about here. We have this on, and it's going to give us aim locking steadiness, tack stand spread, sprint to fire speed, and aim down sight speed here in a major way. So we get a 13 and 19% increase along with our tack stand spread of 16%. Though we're not really using tack stance, doesn't really matter. We just pretty much care about the general sprint to fire and ADS speed benefits we get out of this, which is really, really solid. Now we're gonna go down here to the ammunition because we can't really use anything else. And we're gonna go throw on the 9mm high grain rounds. So this is gonna increase our overall bullet velocity and damage range. This is really, really solid. So we can increase out our overall effective range to about 14 meters, which is really solid for a submachine gun when you're trying to be truly effective at close range. So you guys are for real gonna be feeling this. I mean, it's gonna be hitting very hard, very fast. And so you definitely should be running this as opposed to pretty much any of the other random attachments on here. Definitely go ahead and run the 9mm high grain rounds. And then lastly, we're going into the rear grip section. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go throw on this CCG-tack tape, giving us the increase in tack stance spread and sprint to fire speed. It sends a message of recoil control and gun kick control, but do not worry, do not fret. It's not really gonna mess with you too much. This is overall just an absolute heater of an attachment, and it gives you another 16% increase to your sprint to fire speed, breaking you down that 100 milliseconds, like underneath 100 milliseconds. So you're for real gonna be actually ADSing and having a great sprint to fire ridiculously fast. That's one of the huge benefits of this gun, is that you feel like you can pick it up with no perks and like on no loadout perks, and you feel the speed increase just by having this on your loadout. So it's really solid, but this is my full build right here. Definitely try this one out. It's awesome. All right, next up, let's take a look here at the WSP9, aka the Uzi, one of the hardest hitting SMGs in the game. Let's give you guys a great high mobility but easy to control recoil style build for this. One of my personal favorites. I'm not gonna give you guys something that I personally would not use as someone that's trying to drop, daily 30 and 40 plus kill gameplays to upload. I'm trying to use the best stuff out there, so I'm gonna give you guys what exactly I am using. First thing in the muzzle, we're gonna go throw that Zeman 35 on there. This is pretty much the standard for a lot of SMGs for your muzzle attachment. I mean, sometimes you can get away with running a regular suppressor or something else like that, but generally speaking, we go for that Zeman, so we're gonna have that on there. Underbarrel section, we're gonna go throw on the XRK Edge BW-4 hand stop. This is gonna give us a pretty nice increase to our aim locking speed, along with our movement, ADS speed, and sprint to fire speed. What I really like the XRK Edge for, a little bit more so than the DR6 here, it's just the fact that when I have my general ADS movement speed, it's covered by my face cam here, but it gives me a plus 12% increase on that as opposed to a plus 6% on the DR6. So basically meaning that when you actually add on the XRK Edge, the ability you have to be able to strafe back and forth while your ADS is essentially double than that of the DR6. So it really helps you be able to kind of move back and forth. Of course, get that rotational aim assist and just win more gunfights because you're a harder target to hit because you're moving faster. So we really like this. Magazine section, we go through on the 40 round mag here. I don't really believe you need the 50. This is a slower enough fire rate gun that I feel like you can get away with outrunning the 50, but it's totally personal preference. If you want to go run the 50, it's not going to mess the build up too much. You will just be a little bit slower than running the 40. Now in the optics section, just because some people don't like those iron sights, I think they're pretty all right. I don't mind using them, but I know a lot of people out there want to throw a sight or something on there, so we're actually gonna throw the Jack glassless on here. But I should preface this, and I should say that you guys can use essentially any red dot sight you want, any red dot sight you feel comfortable with, whatever your preference is. that is what's going to be totally okay to use. But with the Jag Glassless, we do get a little bit more of that firing aiming stability, so it kind of makes the recoil that Uzi would have feel a little bit less, and that's pretty good. And lastly, in the stock section, we're gonna go through on the no stock attachment, man. Hey, listen, we can actually afford to run the no stock because we have an optic and these other great attachments on there. So it feels very high mobility without essentially screwing you. And we really, really like that. So the no stock is gonna be our attachment. This is my full build. Definitely try this out. All right, next up, we're gonna be taking a look here at the Striker, not the Striker 9. We will still cover that, but the regular Striker, this is going to be an absolute heater of a gun, and truly a hard hitter in Warzone. So first thing, muzzle. We have a couple options in here. I've ran it with both the Zemin 35 and also the Shadow Strike suppressor. So keep in mind with the Zemin, you will have a little less visual recoil, but with the Shadow Strike, you're still going to be entirely 100% off the radar. So it's up to you guys what you want to have. Just a little bit more recoil staying off the radar entirely, or have less recoil and you don't mind a tad bit of a radar ping. Normally speaking, I don't mind a little bit of a radar ping. I like my guns to have a little less recoil, considering it doesn't slow me down really all that much. So I'm gonna go for the Zemin for this one, but you can go for that Shadow Strike if you want to. Barrel section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through on the Striker Recon long barrel. The reason we're not using the Elite long barrel here is though we only get a 13, 12, and 15% increase, and it does help with our overall recoil control. This thing doesn't have that much recoil, so I'd rather go over here and get an 18, 18, and a 15% increase, extending out our effective damage range. That effective damage range, that first one right there, that top stat, that 15 meters, that's our first damage profile. So the more we can extend that out, the better. And so that's gonna help us a little bit more with this here, as opposed to the Elite long, 14.3 versus 15, and we're not getting slowed down nearly as much because there's no sort of like, you know, cons to that, or like not nearly as many. So I'd recommend for you guys to run this exclusively over the Elite long barrel. This is good on like the grounded one, not like a loadout one. Under rail section, XRK Edge, we want to be able to strafe back and forth and be more mobile, so we're definitely going to throw that on there. And now we're actually going to go down to the ammunition side of things, and we're going to throw on the .45 auto high grain rounds. And what this is going to do is, I mean, I don't really care about the no enemy skulls. I mean, that doesn't even matter. We just care about that bullet velocity and damage range increase. It says it messes your recoil control much, but honestly, when you have that Zemin on there, you're not going to notice any of it, so it doesn't matter. Basically, we get a 15, 15, and a 15% increase, making our bullet velocity like super ridiculously fast in comparison to a lot of SMGs. So it's going to hit very good, and that's why this gun can be used as like a sniper support, is because the bullet velocity is good and your effective damage range. It's at 17.3 meters, essentially putting out your initial damage profile like farther than any other SMG out there right now. So this is a great combination to run on this SMG. Lastly, in the magazine section, the 48 round mag. I mean, we're using the iron sights here, so we don't need to go for an optic. If you want to maybe run an optic, take out the high grain rounds, put on an optic. But overall, the 48 round mag is going to be great. Don't need that 60, not a super high fire rate gun, so you can get away with running that 48 very easily. This is my full build right here. Y'all need to try this. All right, now we can actually get into the Striker 9. This is pretty much like what people classify as like the #1 meta SMG, though I feel like there's not really a true like front runner. Like we had the HRM, which like it dominated everything else, so that was truly the front runner. This is a really good one, but I don't think it takes the cake as like the #1, though it's still insanely good. So we'll give you guys the proper build for it. Muzzle category, we're gonna throw on that Zemin 35 here as always. Definitely want to stick with this. No reason to kind of really switch that up. It just works out very well, so we're just gonna keep that on there. Barrel section, we're gonna go throw on the similar thing to the regular Striker, which is the Elite long barrel. It does a similar sort of thing on this gun here, where it helps you with your recoil control, but you still get basically the same benefits. Like it's literally the same barrel. It's like they copy and paste it over from one Striker to the other. We just like the Striker Recon long barrel as opposed to the Elite on both guns. Underbarrel section, we're gonna go and do basically the same exact thing here with the XRK Edge. So we're just gonna go ahead and run that. It's just gonna be very good. You guys could definitely go and run that DR6 if you want to have a little bit more sprint to fire time. This will pull you under about that 100 milliseconds, which is really good and makes it so you can bring your gun up really fast. I think the only faster gun right now, maybe the Uzi, but overall this gun is just going to be super fast, and maybe that BP50 conversion, aka the Ripper. So DR6 or the XRK Edge is going to be really solid. You're not probably going to notice much of a difference between 99 milliseconds and 101, but if you want to stay on 100, go for the DR6. Magazine, we're gonna go through on the biggest mag here. This is the case for this gun though. High fire rate as opposed to regular Striker. Definitely want to go for the 50 round drum. It makes sense to do so. You're going to expend all those bullets and you will find yourself in bad situations trying to run the 40. I've done that for a conversion video where I tried to make it into an old Warzone 1 gun, and believe me, I was expending my full mag all the time. So definitely should go for the 50. It'll save your butt. And lastly, in the stock section, we have a couple options in here, but basically the most meta or best one to go for that's not going to mess your recoil control much is going to be the Striker Factory stock, as opposed to the Lockman MK2. I've had good success with both of these things, to be honest with you guys, but I know some people want their guns to like literally not move, and the Striker Factory stock is basically going to do that for you. It's going to give you some mobility benefits, but it's also not going to mess your recoil hardly at all. It says 10%, but you don't notice it, so we're just going to go ahead and throw this on there, and that is going to be the best Striker 9 setup. And lastly, but definitely not least, well, almost, I guess, kind of a bit least, this is more of a niche SMG. So this thing is insanely good at close range, up to about that 8 meters. It's like one of the fastest TTK guns. So you have to use this in super close quarters. Otherwise, you might start getting outgunned by some other SMGs. But I wanted to show you guys this because there's frankly not that many other really great SMGs that compete with everything. So let's at least get into it and give you guys the ideal build. So of course, Zeman 35, and you got to explain this one. It's just the standard attachment. The barrel sections where it gets a little bit weird though. I've seen people recommend to run this Ruthless L barrel, which I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, a 28% increase to our sprint to fire speed, like it's a negative, like it makes it slower. That's ridiculous for an SMG. We don't want to run a barrel that's going to mess with that much. Granted, it does give us a 27% increase, 28 and 15, whereas I could just run the Reckless 90 barrel and get a 31, 32 and 24 and only get a 7% increase to my sprint to fire speed. I find this is much better, and I'm not really too concerned with the hip fire spread. I'd much rather just go for this. But overall, you could probably basically just interchange out my build with these two barrels and see what works best for you. But for my preference, I'd go for the Ruthless, or not Ruthless, the Reckless 90 long barrel. Under barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go through on the DR6 just because I want that increase in sprint to fire speed of 8% as opposed to 6% over here. This gets me down to about that sub 100 milliseconds, and I find that to be actually very nice. Though you could go for the XRK Edge, interchange it out. It's not going to matter too much. A little bit more personal preference at the end of the day between those two attachments. Magazine, this is an interesting one. So you could 110% go for the 100 round drum. You can genuinely do it. If you want to have a 100 round drum on your WSP swarm, go for it. I'm not going to stop you. But overall, the 100 round drum is going to slow you down, probably a decent bit here. We take a look at some of the stats. I mean, there's a lot of reds behind my face cam here, so it does slow you down. Your sprint to fire and your ADS speed, I mean, your ADS speed gets chocked with 23%, but your sprint to fire is only about 4% as opposed to the 50 round, which is only a 14% to your ADS speed and a 1% to your sprint to fire. I think you could get away with realistically running the 50 round mag as opposed to the 100, but it's up to you which one to go for. Lastly, though, in the stock section, I've been trying to experiment around and see what actually would work the best. I know a lot of people like this FSS Fortress Heavy, which realistically speaking, this is going to be the best way to make your gun very easy to be able to control as opposed to going in for something else in here. Like, I mean, the no stock is going to make this thing very hard to control, not very usable unless you're trying to like be, YYing, running around like that. I mean, that's where you'd run the no stock if you're going to be one of those YY nerds. But overall, for the majority of people, you want to run that FSS Fortress Heavy and pretty much call it a day at that, because that'll be easy to use and it's not going to slow you down too much. That'll just be a great attachment. So this is my full build right here. That's been my top 5. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.